Hey everybody, welcome back. We are doing a live interview with the co-author Akasha today. We're going to join that in just a moment. Feel free to ask your questions. If you have them, we will answer them in the order they are received. Akasha is joining us via Discord reactive image. So you will see an active image of when she is speaking on the left side of the screen. We are doing an interview for the co-authorship of her story, Forbidden Love, and that story can be viewed, and I encourage you to join us over at Inner Sanctum or Writer's Sanctum. I have multiple videos on that, and you can take part too. All right, let's do the interview. You guys ready? We're just going to jump right into it. Hi, Akasha. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can.
Perfect.
So, welcome to the stream, I guess.
Thanks. I've never done something like this, so it's a little nerve-wracking.
It's all right. It's not that bad. It really isn't. It's pretty fun. I think you'll have a good time.
Good.
All right, so we're gonna just jump right into our interview. Let's start by saying, tell us a little bit about yourself, Akasha. I know that you're fairly new to the Writer's Sanctum, and you know, just introduce yourself and let us know what you're all about.
Well, I'm Akasha. I've always had this name since I was little, because, you know, Anne Rice. But
is that where the name comes from?
100%. Yeah, Interview with the Vampire was like my favorite book, favorite movie when I was like, I don't know, 13 or 14-ish. And so all my characters, like even in my games, like World of Warcraft, every character I have is a name from that book. It always has been. Even my email is a name from the book.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's like Akasha, I got Marguerite, Gabrielle, Pandora, and Akasha's always been my main pseudonym that I use for myself.
Oh, dude.
I know, it's traveled, I don't know what, I'm old, so 28 years.
And how
I've
long?
always used the name.
How long have you been writing for?
So when I started writing, there's a thing called Yahoo Chats or Yahoo groups kind of thing. It was before that what's it called? That Hotmail thing that came out. And I started in a role play group about the Backstreet Boys. And
Oh, wow.
it was so old. And so I played Brian Luttrell, and I played AJ's girlfriend. So I doubled up with one of my co-writers. Her pseudonym was Raquel. I still remember her to this day. And we role played together for like 2 years of being the Backstreet Boys girlfriends. And we did it in this Yahoo group thing. And then all the other people had, boyfriends in this group. And so we would like get together and have parties in the Yahoo chat. It was so funny. But I did that when I was about 13, 14, because that's when Backstreet Boys, kind of came out. And then I moved on to this game called Realm of Chaos. And it's one of those games that it's like 1D. And so you would press like W and you would move to the next screen. It was a really old game. I think it's still around nowadays, but we would do a little bit of role playing there. But no, I started like really small, like one sentence writing, and it was like quick. We wouldn't post if the person wasn't online.
And how long have you been a member of the Writer's Sanctum?
Since June of this year, actually.
What do you think of it?
I like it. It's I was trying to find a group on Discord for roleplay, and you'd go into these adult Discords trying to look for roleplay, and there's only one thing that they're going to look for, right? Once you get to the smut and you move on, the people go away because that's all they're in for. And I was looking for, about 4 years ago actually, I was looking for something, and I met this one guy, and he goes by pseudonym Cheerful something, and we started chatting, and we started role playing on Discord for the past 4 years, and we're best friends now, and we talk all the time. But I wanted to reach out a little bit more, so I started going through Discord servers, couldn't find anything, and I stumbled onto this website, and I started looking at it. I applied. It took like 4 days for someone to actually approve me, and I just kind of like sat there and waited.
And that was Writer's Sanctum?
Yeah, it took like 4 days for someone to give me approval to get in.
I don't think that's normal. Normally, we're pretty good about getting people in, and what we do here on the site is we have like a mixture of role playing and writing, which the two kind of separate through. And what you've been doing now is writing a co-written story called Forbidden Love, right?
Yeah.
And how's that been so far for you, writing a long-based format story instead of a shorthand Discord, as you said?
Yeah, it was, the roleplay I've been doing for 4 years is actually quite long. It got up to like 4,000 words per post. So it's kind of the same with what we're doing now. I think what's a little bit different is that I'm reaching out more into a little bit of the horror, a bit more of the character's angst and what is going on in her head, where on other role plays it's like, okay, I go to the bar and we talk, and I go do this and we do this. But this role play itself is more of, I'm role playing my character in her head, like how is she dealing with the situations that are happening.
Is there a process that you go through when you're creating a custom character? Like, do you base it on a friend or a family or something that you've seen in the past, or do you just kind of come up with it? What's the process for creating one of these protagonists?
Honestly, the first thing I do is I actually prefer seeing what my partner's character looks like, and I actually base it off of a little bit of them. Not like them themselves, but I look at what their past is, and I'll start to form my character that way. Like with my character in our role play, or our writing, I got her picture, and I just sat there and I looked at her picture, and I'm like, okay, how can I fuck her up? And I literally just sat there and going, what would really fuck somebody up? And she's not based on anybody I know. She's not based on any situation that I know personally. A little bit about, the mom being insane, because my mother is insane.
What do you think? What do you think the most difficult part of writing your story has been thus far?
I think the most difficult would actually be when she gets to the childish hyperactivity, because with her being so segregated her life with the traumas that she's gone through, she was never got to that childhood stage. She never got through that teenager stage. She never experienced the joy of going to a movie theater the first time, or going to the arcade where one of our characters took her there. And for me to keep it into the adult writing, it's really been difficult to juggle her being excited but also keeping her into an adult. And that's been the most struggle with her, I've actually found, is because I want her to be excited and hyper, but then if you get too much, then you're like, okay, well, she's acting like she's 12 when
Right.
she's not.
What do you think
And
the best elements of our story, of this co-written story, has been so
oh,
far?
the mystery.
The mystery.
The mystery on what is going on, and trying to, like, how that you slowly slip into something and you find out, and then you find out that it actually had something to do with the cult, and you're like, oh my god, I figured something out, and you know that there's more. So I'm like always trying to figure out, how can I find out what this cult is about, because I don't know anything. And every time I ask something, the guys are like, nope, can't tell you. It's like, damn it. And it's like, I want to know what is actually going on. And I think that would be the most fun, is the surprises that are kind of waiting around the corner, or waiting for you to respond to me after I've said something, and to see it's like, oh, damn it, that wasn't one of them.
So when you first sit down and you decide, I'm gonna create a story, which comes first? Do you create the plot first, or do you create the characters first? And how come? How come you view it that way?
100% plot. I always go with the plot first, because that's actually one of my worst, as a writer, that is actually one of the worst things I struggle with, is the plot. If I can't, it's so hard for me to say, okay, what do I want to write about? And I draw a blank, like 100% blank. And so usually it's my partner telling me a plot, I'm like, that's when I could build, no problem. But that's when I build my characters. What would be the best character for this situation? I don't want to just throw in, like, for what we're writing now, I can't throw in a completely mentally stable person and expect her to stay around. I have to get her into the plot, because otherwise we did 2 posts and my character ran away.
Mm-hmm.
So I do plot first and then character. It's so much easier that way, and you can manage your character how you want it to be with each thing that happens.
Okay, so when you're starting your story and you're dealing with the plot, how deep do you try to go into that plot before you start writing about it?
Mainly I like to know the starting, like, what is that first intro gonna be like, and what is the, like, for example, like a mafia plot. Okay, we got 2 families, arranged marriage, and we're gonna have eventually a family fighting. That's all far I want to go in. Everything else, I want it to be a surprise. I want to be able to, like, sit down there, write something up, and be like, oh, this is gonna be so cool to screw over my partner with. And I'll write something to try and screw with them or surprise them, because I don't like knowing what's going to happen in the future. I feel if you know what's going to happen in the future, you're railroading your character. And I don't want to railroad her. I want her to react to the situation. So
Right.
I don't do a lot of plot. I would prefer the simplest plot and then go from there.
Okay. That's different. A lot of people prefer to know a lot more before writing, so that's a very unique perspective on the way you handle a story.
Yeah, because if you know, like, okay, so we're gonna have Ali kidnapped. It's like, but what happens if, she didn't want to go to that mall? No, I have to go to that mall. I have to do this to have that happen. but then you're railroading that character to go there. But that day, maybe she didn't want to. Maybe something happened in the morning, and now she just wants to curl up on the couch. But you can't because you've railroaded your character to have that happen to them.
And what would you say is like, we already know that you mentioned Annie Rice is one of your favorite authors. Are
Yeah.
there any authors on the forums that you are particularly fond of?
I don't read a lot of people's work. Honestly, I'm not a big fan of reading someone's work. I read novels, of course, but I've gotten into some, like, I glance over people when I'm looking at partners, and I'm like, oh, this would be cool to write, but that's when I stop reading. So yeah, I mean, I started reading yours. One of them freaked me out, and I ran away. and,
Yeah, I've got some dark
and
ones.
yeah, you got some dark ones, and and yeah, that was about it actually. That's all I do. I look at, if I post up what I'm looking for and someone responds to me, I'll look at their stuff. I'll read like one or two maybe posts from them, and and that's it.
So
I don't know.
tell us a little bit more about Rosalie, your main protagonist, and how you came
hmm
up with her views on things.
Um, you know that what is that? That I'm trying to think of that movie, but there's a movie that's out there, and it was actually really so stupid. Kimmy Schmidt something. I can't even think what it was. It's the girl who was a nuclear fallout shelter and she was kidnapped and stuff, and then she comes out when she's 20 years old and she experiences the world for the first time. Um, I kind of based a little bit of her situation and with her past of how she was so she was locked in a closet for 3 years. She was chained. She was collared. She's been through absolute hell. How did that not break her? And so I tried to find a way that all that past is not affecting her right now because she has buried it. And she's buried it because of all the new stuff that's around. Everything that she's doing is interesting her, taking her mind off of what she's been through. And the only time she experiences those flashbacks is when something happens. And that's when she gets that flashback, but she gets it pushed down again. Like eventually she's going to crack.
Are you
But
planning on any on an ending for the story that you've come up with, or a sequel to the story that you're currently writing?
um no, I'm not. I mean, I would say the ending would be if she ends up killing them or they kill her. But yeah, it would depend on how far she's pushed. Is she going to stand up for herself? Because she never has. She's never had someone to stand up for her. And now, especially with what might happen with Eric, she thought that she was thinking even after she made that phone call to Jason to tell him where to find her, having that conversation with Eric after, she actually is regretting that phone call.
Have you ever
And
written a sequel before?
no, I wouldn't even know what a sequel to this would be. Like, no idea.
Life after she escapes, maybe.
True, but that's if she escapes. That's
How
if
much
she isn't killed.
how much research do you do when you're writing? Like, how much depth and research do you put into it? Because I know that when I write, I'll spend an hour or more, maybe sometimes entire days. Like with my other story, I spent almost 2 weeks researching stuff. How much research do you put into the story before you start writing?
Uh, I kind of research as I go, like especially with Rosalie's mental health, because I'm in that field of my job and what my family's been through and what my husband does. I have a understanding degree of what PTSD could be, what bottling up emotions, what could happen like that, and mostly I'm one of those people that write on a whim. Like, I don't sit there and plan what I'm going to write. I just start typing and I let it flow. And if there's something I do need to research, I'll Google it right then and there. But I can't plan ahead of what I want to do because I find my writing is more stilted. I enjoy just sitting there and I literally type, like I'll type up a response to your thing in about 30 minutes, and I'll just type. Like, I won't look at grammar, I won't look at my words, I won't look at sentences. I just type until I'm done with everything that I want to get out of my head, and then I go over and I'm like, okay, this made no
And
sense, or this is double.
that's one of the things that they encourage people to do with NaNoWriMo and stuff like that. They've always said just get it out of your head first, right?
Yeah.
Get it onto paper, and then go back through and see what doesn't make sense. Because if you don't do that, then you can lose it while you're trying to focus on other things. What would you say the most important aspect of writing in general is for you?
I gotta have fun.
You gotta have
Like,
fun.
I have to have fun. Like, if it's like slice of life and it's like, okay, we're living something that I could actually do in real life, I'm not that interested in it. But if we're doing something that one I would never want to do in real life, like what's happening to her, or like a mafia role play or like a motorcycle gang role play, like those things keep me entertained because there's drama, there's horror, there's excitement. When it's just something that's like, a slice of life, boyfriend and girlfriend moving on to college, I'm just like, okay, this is boring.
What do you think the hardest type of scene is to write?
I hate writing crying scenes. I hate
Crying scenes?
I hate writing scenes of my character crying. I absolutely hate it. And like, if she's gone through an emotional thing and I know she's got to let some tears out, I fucking hate writing that, because I'm just like, oh my god, she is sobbing in the bathroom. And I hate, because I don't cry. Like, I cry if there is something seriously wrong, or I cry if someone I actually love died. That's it. If I cry, the world is coming to an end for me. So I hate writing crying. I just hate it. I giggled when Old Yeller died. I'm weird that way.
Do you have any characters in any of your co-written stories that you would say are similar to yourself?
Yeah, I do actually. It's one of the mafia that I'm writing with Otis. Or
Okay.
I've never actually said his name out loud. Otis.
Otis, yeah.
Yeah, okay. It's actually
And they
Samantha.
are currently making a movie, actually, a small mini series.
Yeah, you told me about that, but actually Samantha is probably the closest to me. Fiery, holds down her emotions, what besides anger, because fuck me, I got a temper on me.
Mhm.
But like, even the one scene that she just found out that her family put a tracker in the back of her neck while she was sleeping, and she was about to cry, but she bottled all that up and she wanted to shoot the guy.
Do you think you would get along with your character Rosalie
um
if you met in
no,
real life?
no, she's too chipper for me.
If you did meet that character face to face, if you met the protagonist Rosalie face to face, what do you think you would say to somebody like that? What would
And I
you,
would know what
Akasha, the
happened?
author, say? No, just what would you say to somebody like Rosalie?
uh, you need to get some therapy. It's like, yeah, you need, everything you're doing is wrong, and you need to go talk to a professional and possibly get on some medication. But yeah, I would be, one, I'd be shocked that she was still alive, and everything that she's gone through. I would be shocked that she is as chipper as she normally is.
When you're sitting down to write and you're getting everything ready to go, is there anything in your personal writing space that you need to have? Like for me, I need fresh coffee ready to go. I can't write without it. What is your personal space like? What do you have to have when you start writing?
So I usually have my Shih Tzu sitting beside me, and my new puppy at my feet. And I have a Coke Zero, and I have my vape pen for nicotine. And I usually, this is gonna sound really stupid, but I have a TV going because I can't just sit there in complete dead silence. And
Oh wow, that's a
I'm
lot
watching The Good
different than
Place.
me. Yeah,
I have
that's
to
a
watch
lot
the TV
different.
show, The Good Place. I've seen it like maybe 10 times, and it's always in the background with me.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's very different. I have to be in silence. I can't do I can do some background instrumental music, but you know, if you play music that actually has lyrics and stuff, it can influence your writing, especially if the music is emotional. So I always try to find
Okay.
music that relates to what I'm trying to emphasize during that scene. So I've never heard of anybody writing with the television on in the background. That's very interesting.
Well, the television is on something I've seen. I can't have the television on as something I haven't seen. So I'll watch Twister is one of my go-to. Morning Glory with Rachel McAdams, Harrison Ford, and Diane Keaton. Oh my God, best movie ever. Pride and Prejudice, like the BBC one with Colin Firth, and or Mad Money with Diane Keaton, Queen Latifah, and Katie Holmes. Those are I'll put one of them on to write. That's the only things I'll watch when I'm writing.
Have you ever traveled doing research for your stories, or when you traveled, you come back and you're like, this was a really good idea. I want to include some of this in my story?
So in the future, yes. So I have a degree in medieval England, and I've always wanted to go over there to see where Anne Boleyn grew up. I want to go to Hever. I want to go to that. But I've wanted to write a story of Anne Boleyn, and she actually had a boy instead of Queen Elizabeth.
We have some viewers. If you guys would like to ask Akasha a question yourself, please feel free to do so. Type it in. We'll make sure that it gets asked and answered. Moving on, then, have you ever taken a risk with your character or your protagonist, and did it pay off in the end, or did it backfire?
With Rosalie or with anybody?
Whatever you feel like sharing.
Okay, so with the role play I have going on for the past 4 years with my friend, I actually did a really big risk. It paid off well, but she's an elf, and her mom is a queen, and her father is a king of a warring nation. Long story short, I didn't want her relationship to be that way, and they had a council, and the city that she was residing in away from her own city, we called it the Dominion. They were in a political meeting because they were about to go to war with my character's family because they were really evil elves. I actually had it come out that she was actually not the daughter of the king. She was the daughter of the king where she lives, and her mother drugged him and had a baby with him when he wasn't aware that he had a daughter. And so I spun this onto my partner and I started typing it up, and once he responded to it, he just was like, holy shit, what a fucking twist. I'm like, I know, right? And it paid off so good, but I totally fucked with his characters and it was so funny. It's turned out well.
If Forbidden Love was made into a movie, who would you want to play Rosalie?
Oh, I know exactly who I want to play Rosalie. Hold up. Oh god, what is her name? Oh yeah, it's the Circe. No, not Circe. The Witcher. You know the new Witcher that just came out, that girl?
Let me look. Let me look.
Yeah. Okay. What is her name? Oh my god, I hate Bing. I hate Bing.
You hate Bing. Bing is cool. I like Bing.
No, it always makes it worse. Okay, so The Witcher
Is Freya Allen, right?
Yes, that would be
Freya
her.
Allen.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can show our viewers who you would want to play here. Capture
Yeah, that's who I would want to play.
We'll add this. Show them. There we go. Oh, it's super big. Hold on. Wow, it got gigantic. It got so massive. People are like, oh my gosh, look at this loser. He doesn't know what he's doing. So this is who you think would play,
Yeah.
You would have Rosalie B, huh?
Yeah.
And I think that came through. Yeah, that came through. Okay. So that's very cool.
I mean, she would have dark hair because Rosalie has black hair. But I think that's the kind of look I've always gone for her.
That's very cool. Let's see. What else do we got here? We've got what is some advice that you might give to a new author or people that are wanting to write and do stories and so forth? What would be some advice to them that you would give?
Get Grammarly.
Get Grammarly. Get good.
Grammarly. Get good. Yeah, because I will admit I haven't been the best on grammar. A couple years ago, I'm not the greatest. Every once in a while you'll see like my words get flipped around, or I got a little bit of dyslexia. My words get flipped around, or he and her get screwed up. But the worst thing someone can do is when they're reading it and they read a sentence and the grammar is completely off, or they're switching between past and present tense all the time. Those are things that can turn somebody off on writing so quickly. But it's also I don't think people should pre-plan too much. And that's the thing. Like I was in one role play on this and I ended it, but every time I would do something, they would private message me saying, "Okay, what do you think my character should do next?" And I'm like, "Dude, I'm not writing your character. You do your character."
Right.
And it's like, don't pre-plan stuff. Just write how you get inside your character's head and just write. And if it doesn't come out, it doesn't come out that great. But it's so much better than pre-plan.
How do you come up with your characters or your non-protagonist NPCs? How do you come up with their names and their personalities and stuff?
Oh, well, first I always go after picture first. So like I had to.
Really?
Yeah. So in Otis's roleplay with the mafia, I needed a maid, a nanny, and so I wanted her to be ugly, an old ugly Russian. So I typed in Google "old female ugly Russian," and the maid came up. I'm like, oh yeah. So I based it on that picture, and I based her completely on that picture. That's
Normally, when I'm writing myself, I don't go photo first. I go with the base description, and then I'll try to find a reference image to reflect that. Now with this new AI technology that they're coming up with, where they can reference, you can just type in a description, and they just instantly, dolly and stuff like that.
I saw that on John Oliver last night. I watched the John Oliver from this week. He talked all about AI stuff. It looked super cool.
I use that a lot, actually. I use the
I can't figure out how to use it yet, but
it's not all that complicated. I think you'll get it. Do you ever get emotional when you start writing? Do you ever feel emotional?
So yes and no. Like when I'm writing my characters, not really. Like I don't feel bad for them. I don't feel sad for them. But when, for example, when I was on a multi roleplay server, and I went away for a week, and my character, I've been roleplaying with this one person for a year, and we had like a soulmate thing. We were blood bonded and all this kind of weird stuff. And when I came back for that one, I was gone for 1 week. His character had broke all the stuff that we took a year to build, had an affair with somebody else, got that character pregnant. That person had the baby, and then they got time warped, and that kid was now 18 years old. And that is actually when I quit doing online roleplay, because I was like, you know what? That's when I got emotional, because I'm just like, I spent a year on this character, and in 1 week everything was destroyed.
Right.
And so it's actually why it's one of my limits. One of the reasons why it's one of my limits that I will not play cheating roleplay.
Do you prefer ebooks, audiobooks, or printed books?
Ebooks. I get them all free online, so I have an ebook that has like, I don't know, 1,500 books on them.
Very cool.
Yeah, I get them free.
Do you have other writers in your life or your circle of friends and family, or are you doing this all alone?
I have two published writers. I have my cousin is a published writer. He wrote. He's a fiction and a nonfiction writer, and quite popular actually. I'm not going to say his name. And he was on the New York Times bestseller. He was
Oh,
on
wow.
it for 6 weeks for one of his books. And he's gotten, I think altogether, he's got 5 books published. And it's actually a very mainstream author that you wouldn't probably know.
Oh, wow.
But
Okay.
yeah.
Well, it's cool
So
that
that's
you're
my
not
cousin.
alone then.
Yeah, that's my cousin. And then I have a second cousin who is also in university right now for writing.
What would like give kind of a overview without too much detail of your story Forbidden Love?
Oh, it's kind of like she was in the frying pan and now she's in the fire. So, she was abused her entire life, and she was hidden from the world, and she thought that the grass would be greener on the other side. And when she went to where she is now, she is trying to find happiness in a fucked up situation. It's better than what she was at. It's the abuse. She doesn't find this abuse, because her abuse was getting the shit kicked out of her, right? Her abuse was like scarring, literally. And now her abuse, or what people are telling her abuse is, it's okay. She can deal with this.
Right.
And she doesn't realize that it's abuse. And Eric has now started making her think, well, is this right? Am I?
And there's
like,
a
what's
scene
going on?
now where there's a chance that Eric, one of the non-player characters in the group, one of the non-protagonists, may die. And in order to do this, he was he had rescued you and your protagonist Allie. He had rescued her and taken her from the environment she was in, and then kind of tried to do a run escape. And now there's a real chance he's gonna die. How's that?
I know. I don't want him to die. It's going to affect her severely. If he ends up dying, she's going to see what he said was true. And I actually fear that she's going to run on her own. Because I don't know, like she loves the guy she's with. She thinks he is the best that's ever been in her life, because he has given her everything she's never had. He's given her the access to a shower. He's given her access to food, which is basic common needs. But to her, it's not. I mean, hell, when she was in the closet, she ate half of the Lord of the Rings book because she didn't have food. And which actually is in there, and she still has that book. But Eric he's told her some things that have happened and told her that she's being abused, that this is happening, that shouldn't be happening. And if he is killed, she's going to realize that he was right.
Right.
And I don't know what she's going to do with that. So
the premise of this story is horror driven,
Yeah.
right? Have you
Yeah.
written a lot of horror books before?
This is the first one.
And how's it flowing for you?
It's going really good. I mean, I find a little bit of it's actually not horror yet. Like, there's some times going, oh, this is fucked up. But it's not like, oh, like when I think of horror, I think of like the zombies that run after you, that you're definitely not outrunning. Those zombies, that's what I think of horror.
Okay.
Or getting your arm cut off, or like the Saw things when you have to like. But this is more disturbing than I would call horror. I don't know. Maybe it's got a different like perspective on it because again, horror for me is literally running from zombies. Like
Okay.
I have a whole plan if that actually happens. But for this is just disturbing, and it's to the point. There's some things on it that when I'm writing it, I'm just like, girl, you need to call somebody for help. Like, call 911. But no, she doesn't. She calls the guy who's abusing her to come rescue her. So.
Well, we've reached the point of no return with our interview. This has been an interview with Akasha. Is there anything that you would like to add, Akasha? Anything that you would like to say to future writers or people that might want to join the Writer's Sanctum and start writing stories of their own?
Well, the one thing that I have always found about writing is it takes you out of yourself, and it actually reduces my anxiety by a lot, because I find that I can express some things that I'm feeling, like Allie's anxiety. I can express that into words, and it actually calms me down quite a lot, and it helps me, especially with my ADHD, keep myself focused on certain things. Like I think writing, even if you aren't a novelist writer or you're extremely literate or however people want to call, writing, just getting out there and just starting it, even if you're just one sentences, I find it can help people enjoy, especially when they don't have stuff to do. Because I'm not a gamer. I literally sit here and watch TV. So finding this is like, I'm literally waiting for your response. And I know there's one person ahead of me, but I fucking want it. So I sit here and I wait some days. I'm just like, okay, I want to type and I want to type. So I think that's the one thing Writer Sanctum has done for me, is giving me I want to write. I want to get this stuff down. I want to explore my creativity.
How have you found the community as a whole over at Writer Sanctum?
At first, actually, before I started writing with you, I was really struggling finding some people that I could mesh with, and I didn't know what to do with myself. And then when I found you, because you gave me the confidence to just write and if it goes on for 5,000 words, great. If it doesn't, that's fine. But it's and then the Discord that we got involved in, it's more community, and I like it better than what I was doing before, because I kind of felt like I was on my own a little bit, but now I actually don't really feel like I'm on my own. That's weird, right?
No, I think it makes sense. We have a great community over at Writer Sanctum. There's a lot of potential there. There's a lot of authors there, quite a few published ones. We've got quite a few published authors. We've got my book coming that was co-written with Ipsy, and that's coming out. So there's a lot there. There's that small chat room down at the bottom where you can meet people and say hello if you're looking for something more active and just getting to know people. I always found, prior to joining and starting writing co-written stories, I wrote mostly to myself and alone. And I wrote by myself in a room, and that works. But I would often find that I ran into writer's block, and it was very difficult to get over. And so the formatting on writing with a co-written story takes a minute to get used to, and it can be quite troublesome to correct and err and edit things and make it so that it's a constructive story. But I found it's really worth it. And I hope that if you guys are watching this and you're interested in the Writer's Sanctum and you want to take part in that, please do so. You can find their links below, both on my YouTube and my Discord and my Twitch. You'll find all the links that you need to join up and take part in this community and be part of it. And I hope that you do. I hope you take a chance and as Akasha said, just let it out. Just come on there and find your imagination and just let it go. Have fun with it.
Let it go.
So thank you so much for joining us today, Akasha. I appreciate it very much. I hope you enjoyed the interview. How did you like the interview? Did it flow well for you?
It did. Did I talk enough?
You did. You
had to interrupt me a couple times.
We will we'll do some more interviews and we'll bring some more of your story that you're writing, Forbidden Love, to light, and we'll kind of break it down and go through some chapters and stuff like that. Once we figure out how we're going to do that, we'll do another interview and break it down.
You have to be careful with that.
All right. Well, thank you everybody so much for joining us today. Again, Akasha, it's been a privilege to interview you and talk about this stuff. I hope you all enjoyed it, and we'll talk to you later. Bye, everybody.
Bye.